upon. Please also be sure to raise your hand via the app to make sure we know to call on you. We have head coach Sean Nahas here with us ahead of the team's first road match of the season, heading off to face the Utah Royals on Friday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Coach, you're out in Utah right now. For starters, just give us overall perspective of the travel so far for the week and the mindset of the team going into this first road match of the year.
Yeah, travel's been fine. Mindset is as we always are, just preparing for the next game. And from a training dynamic, just players have been good, sort of getting a little bit healthy now. But yeah, we'll just try and build off of last game.
What are some of the things that you've had a chance to review the tape and see last week's game? What are some of the positive things you can take away to build off of in that 5-1 win?
Scoring goals is good, but I think just the adjustments we made at halftime to give a little bit more security in how we wanted to play and the ideas that we wanted to put forth based on what we saw in the first half that Houston was giving us and our inconsistencies in possession and so on. So, but yeah, anytime you can get a result the way we did in that game, especially the first game of the season, and have a pretty good foundation set, I think it gives a little bit of push for the next one. But in this league, week by week is all you can do.
It's kind of weird to call Denise O'Sullivan an unsung hero, but when you score 5 goals in the game, she maybe doesn't get the shine she deserves, but she had 12 duels won, 4 interceptions, 4 tackles. All of those led the league individually in week 1. Can you speak a bit to what Denise brought that maybe wasn't seen because everyone was talking about the goals?
I don't really need to talk about Denise anymore. People don't know the level she's at, regardless of unsung hero or not. She is who she is. She's always going to give a consistency. She's always going to give an effort for the club and perform at the highest level, and she cares. And I think her level of possession has grown in the last year and a half, and her ability to maintain certain areas of the field that'll give her success. But I'm not surprised by anything Sully does, to be quite honest. So she's our leader for a reason, and represents the club the way she does for a reason. And the key thing is keeping her healthy and fresh and keeping her wanting more and growing and learning. And that's what we seem to be doing right now.
And then last question from me, Coach, before I turn it over to some media members, but some really good debuts for your squad last week. One of them, Riley Jackson. She came in just Meg Linehan's entering right now. Riley came in the 89th minute, but had 9 completed passes, passed at 100% accuracy. Looked like she really fit in as a true pro. Can you just speak to what Riley brings to this team and what it meant to see her make her pro debut last week?
Yeah, I think, someone like Riley, she's still young and she plays in probably a really good deep midfield pool. So she's learning every single day. But we saw it early in preseason in our friendly against Chicago, her level of composure, her level of understanding of the game, and fits in perfectly with how we want to play in our style and our identity. But we also want to ease her into it. We see things behind the scenes that we want to make sure we manage, and in a way, because she's such a young kid and she wants to perform at the highest level at all times, that we don't want to throw her into the fire and something doesn't go well. How does that affect her mentally? So it's a process for sure, but look, Riley's our future. And we feel that she's continuing to grow. She loves the environment. But to see her have the success she did and what it meant to her, I think was more important than any passes that she connected.
Great. Thanks, Coach. We do have some hands raised in the waiting room. Steph Yang just joined as well. So great to have 2 members of the Athletic with us. Welcome to both of you. Tyler, you did have your hand up first from Top Bin 90, so we'll let Tyler Trent lead off the questions from the media. Tyler?
Hey, Coach. I was just wondering if you could give us your impression of Utah based on their first match.
My impression of Utah based on the first match. I think they showed a lot of promise, that's for sure. A good attacking mind frame. I still think they're all coming together and learning and getting an idea of who they are as a team and their identity. So I think that part is good to see, and Amy will do a great job with them. But Tyler, I focus on us. So that's all I can really give you. I can't give you much more than that. I think as the season wears on, they'll show more. And, again, it takes time as an expansion team in this league, but there's definitely a great foundation that Amy's putting down, and a young group that's willing to attack and eager. And that always leads to a successful campaign.
And then I wanted to ask what it's like going to face one of your former players now as like a rival coach?
I mean, I don't know if you're looking for something, but there's no rival coach. We all get along. I'm really happy for Amy. She deserves this opportunity. I don't look at it as anything like that. That's not who I am. Um, I'm just happy that they're in the league, and she's the one that laid such a massive foundation for their club, and she's the one leading them in this direction. She knows about the league. She's a former player. She knows what the players want and need to have success, and that's all I care about. And she's the perfect person for that. But there's no rivalry. I mean, that's not something I really dive into. I just want our coaches to be successful, and I want the league to be successful. But I'm happy for Amy, any success she has as a player and now as a coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Meg, go ahead.
Hello. Just with the announcement of the Summer Cup with teams from Mexico, I was just hoping that you could react to that, and also just kind of where we're at, I guess, with the NWSL. I feel like the schedule fixture congestion, that's been a real topic heading into the start of the season. Obviously seeing, 33 games total during the Olympic break,
Yeah.
is maybe a little bit of a tall ask to ask for players, especially in the height of summer. So I was just hoping that you could maybe react to this week's announcement.
Yeah, Meg, I appreciate you being on. It's it is a topic of conversation for sure. And I think when you only have 26 players on a roster, right? And at that part of the season where you don't know where teams' rosters are going to be, if you're going to have those types of things, I would consider having roster expansion, to be quite honest, especially at the level that these players play at, and the intensity of this league, and how just this league alone is so high level. But when you start congesting the tournaments, and you start congesting the camps that lead into the tournaments, and you start the midweek games, and then these other games, I think these other games are great for the growth of the game. But we also want to put a good product out there, right? And we don't want to have holes in the roster. So I would consider discussions on roster expansion in that regard. Just 2 extra players could potentially change a lot, especially for clubs that have a boatload of national team players, right? I mean, they are going to be, they're going to be in more of a struggle than maybe some others. So I do think there needs to be more conversation about it. I would like the coaches to have a little bit more conversations with the people making these decisions, because it impacts us and the decisions we make with our players, and our performance staff. I think it's important that they have those conversations too, because they're the experts. So while I think it's great, I also think we have to be careful, because how does that impact our league not having enough time off? And I think the perfect example, Meg, was last year after the World Cup. We had to fly across the country. We couldn't bring our national team players because it would have been detrimental to their health in a playing sense. So, so we've looked at that, but I just think we have to be careful in adding too much. And that's definitely been a topic, especially seeing all the injuries that have been happening, even without a congested schedule. We have to be really careful in making sure we take care of the players and putting them in the best situation for success, both on and off the field.
Yeah, I think with Challenge Cup moving to a single game, right, there is the sense of there is potentially room alongside the regular season to have something that is not just an additional competition, but maybe plays more of a development role, again, for what you're saying, an expanded roster. Would you like to see, maybe as the league considers additional competitions, having maybe regular season obviously still be the primary focus, but using those competitions to maybe say, how do we grow these rosters? How do we grow the development at the highest level?
Yeah, I would agree. I think, I've always said, when people have asked, I think the Challenge Cup was a great addition to the league. But as the schedule started getting more and more condensed, it made it difficult. I then started going with, maybe we make it into like an FA Cup type style, where it's win and move on, and lose and you're out. And you can still do the development. Even overseas, you see teams, men's and women's, they playing their younger players or players that don't get time, and it helps in that development. So I think that's another avenue. It'll lessen the congestion, and you just spread it out over the course of the season, right? And then I think we have such a long preseason. Is there something that could be done? Because we're going to have to find games some way. So is it part of that, that process? I think there's definitely ways to do it. It's just, how do we all get on the same page with it, rather than a decision being made and then now here's what we have to deal with type thing, So there's definitely room for opportunity for sure. You see, was it the Women's Gold Cup alone was an amazing success. Now you're starting to see that with what the CONCACAF is adding on the women's side now. And I think we just have to be real careful and not putting our players in any detrimental situations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Thanks, Meg. Steph, you had your hand up as well. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Coach. I actually wanted to ask you about Brianna Pinto. She's a player who I feel like has kind of been simmering for a couple seasons in terms of really, maximizing her potential. Hasn't approached her ceiling yet, I feel like. Just wondering, based on, of course, it's one game, right? But like her ability to get to that goal scoring position in front of goal and how she's playing off of Narumi. What's your evaluation so far? And have you had any discussions with her about, taking another step up this season?
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think we've seen the full Pinto, but I tell you, I think we're close. I've been fortunate to be around her for years, and last year I know was difficult for her. But she's come into this preseason as a different person, a different player. And, I think her playing as the 9 last week shows what we value with her and her qualities as a player and how that suits us and fits us in our system. So we have such a big, we feel we have a really powerful and talented midfield pool that, where can we use Pinto in other areas that can still hone her qualities and her improvement in the game. So that's why we moved her higher up onto the final line. She's good around goals. She likes to pull the trigger. She's great with the final ball. Her relationship with Ash is going to continue to grow. And now we have Manaka back in the fold. So that relationship will continue to fold. But I also think what it does, Steph, is it allows for us to have a little bit more rotation. Whereas last year we didn't rotate as much, and I think that hindered us, So now, to Meg's question as early as well, is it allows for us to rest players when we need to rest players in right moments rather than keep putting the minutes on. So I think Pinto has had a great start to the season. I thought she did well in a new position last week, and she'll only get better as the season wears on. But she's had a tremendous preseason so far.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the group for Sean? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Sean, thank you very much. Best of luck tomorrow.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody. Recording
Thanks,
will be out in just a little bit.